you make a mistake, it could really push you to the ground. Guys, in this episode of building a custom built home or custom made home or a custom home or $1 million home, we're going to talk about the finances, because some of you guys ask questions about how do you finance a property or a project like this when you're building a custom home, right? And does it make sense, or if the property is sustainable, right? So I talked to you guys about like why would you want to undertake a project like this, but in this episode here we're going to talk about the finances behind it, because it's one thing to see a project like this being built, but behind the scene, the financial is very rare that somebody will talk about how to acquire or how to start a project like this, right? In terms of a financial. So I'm gonna talk to you guys about a concept of what most investors do when they're undertaking a project like this, a custom built home, right? In a perspective of investments, right? So this is not end user, but in the perspective of if you're a real estate investor that you want to get into a custom home in order for you to make money or to flip, right? So just like what I have talked about in the past many times, that there are different ways, different styles of investment. Some people do it for the purpose of flipping. Some people do it for the purpose of BRRR, buy, rent, buy, rehab, rent, repeat. Some people do a custom built, right? Like for example, like this, right? And there's always going to be the four components when it comes to investments, and the four ways that you're going to make money, just like what I've said many times, is that your appreciation, your force appreciation, your principal recapture, your cash flow. And there's a fifth one, which is you are going to be your private lending, right? So in this a component in this application, so what we're going to talk about is pretty much your custom built home is will fall into your appreciation and your force appreciation, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to force the value of a certain property in order for you to flip it, and in order for you to make money from it, right? So the way that most investors would do it is that they would raise a capital. So this could be they would borrow money from the investors, so they have investors that they have a lineup on, and they would borrow that money to start a project. Once everything was completed, right, they will go to the bank and they will do their own refinance, which is 80% loan to a value. But the trick is that you have to understand your numbers, right? Because this is all about numbers, right? You cannot mess up your numbers, because borrowing money from investors is a very risky and very expensive proposition, right? Because you cannot make a hiccup, so your numbers has to be like straight, right? So that's how most investors would do it. They would raise a capital using other people's money, right, in order for them to fund their construction, which where you guys are seeing right now, paying the guys for the to do the work, renovations and things like that, right? And then once everything is all done, the investors or the owner would go to the bank and they would ask for refinance on this property, right? So hopefully at that time that you will be able to refinance this property for 80% loan to a value, and that's what they do, and that's what they're gonna need in order for them to pay their investors. And now you have your $1 million home that you own 100%, and you use your other people's money, right? So that's what most people do when they're investing into this type of a style of investments, which is your building $1 million home, right? And the beauty about in North America is that in order for you to get into a real estate investing, you don't necessarily have to use your own money, right? You could use other people's money for as long as you understand how how money works, right? Whereas if you go to any other country, you probably would need to use your own personal money, right? So that's what the difference is between like North America, where you could use other people's money to undertake and undergo a project such as like this, right? For as long as you understand what you're doing. Another way that you could do it is that if you want to do it on your own personal, is you can refinance your home, right, and use the equity of your home to build on this type of a project. But why would you do it if you could use other people's money to make money, right? And that's the whole purpose of this game, is to really use other people's money in order for you to acquire a property like this, right? So it's not for everybody. Some people think that it's easy. It's not a straightforward process. It depends on a individual. So if you have the a tolerance for it, right, and then like you could undertake a project like this. And Yeah, that's what most of the investors do. Real estate investors do is they would raise a capital, right? And that's what they use to build a project like this. And there's nothing new. There are many people that have done this, from Donald Trump, Grant Cardone, and all those guys that teach using other people's money. So that's what they do. So this style of investment is pretty much your is a appreciation and forced appreciation, right? And you would only want to do this in a city like Toronto, where the value of the property is higher and it's profitable, right? But if you're in the secondary market, this might not work out for you. Okay, and last but not least, right, is just because it works for some other people, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you, right? So you have to understand your a tolerance when it comes to investing on a project like this, because if you make a mistake, it could really push you to the ground. Okay, yeah. So that's how it's being done, and stay tuned for more episode in this project.